The Basilisk. A serpent so deadly it leaves a trail of venom and death in its wake. The creature was near unstoppable. Even the landscape lay scorched by its presence.
Welcome to one of my ESO build videos. Like each, I'll be going over the gear, skills, CP, food I'm using, playstyle, and then showing some footage at the end. Alright guys, so now we're going to jump into the Basilisk build itself. Now, I'm running 5.5.2 on my gear pieces. I'm running 2 Veladrith, 5 Viper, and 5 Vice Cannon of Venom. Now, I'm running dual wield and bow, as you can see, and I'm going to show you what pieces I have for what first. So, Veladrith, 2-piece Veladrith. Now, I've got Divines on the head, and it's in heavy. That's the best that I could come up with right now. And for the life of me, I can't get a fucking decent drop on my shoulders, so rocking the good old sturdy for now. So, we've got Vice Cannon on the chest, bracers, guards, and belt. Now, I'm running Impen on the chest, guards, and the boots. And then we've got the Viper boots, necklace, rings, and 1 dagger. So I'm also running Divines on a couple of the small pieces, including the head, the bracers, and the waist. So the reason I'm running Divines on a few of them is because I'm using the Shadow Mundus, the Shadow, just so you guys hear me, because I'm not gonna actually go into where it shows it. Running the Shadow for the extra crit damage. Now I'm running 1 Viper dagger, and I'm running a Vice Cannon sword. Now this dagger actually drops out of Fungal Grotto 2 on the very first main boss, so you can run it over and over and you can get this dagger. It always comes sharpened, so that's pretty good. Now running max stamina glyphs on all of the gear. And on the weapons, I'm running poison damage for a specific reason that I'll tell you later. I'm running weapon damage on the sword, and I'm running disease damage on my bow. Now your bow can be any old bow really. It would be ideal to either have a Viper or Vice Cannon bow, give you a little bit more flexibility with how you play this, but any old bow works just fine. As you can see, I'm using my Sharpened Clever Alchemist bow. So yeah, any of that's fine. Any old bow is fine. Now there's a number of ways to play this build, which you're going to see, and I'm just going to go over my max stats real quick. This is without any food, and this is in Cyrodiil. So outside of Cyrodiil, your max health is garbage, so you're going to want to use different food if you're going to run dungeons with this build, but don't run dungeons with this build. This is a PvP only build. This is a gank build. So we've got 8k, almost 9k max magicka, which is fine because some of the food is going to help you out with your magicka anyway. Then we got 15k max health, 27k max stam, and 14k stam recovery. Again, this is unbuffed without food. Now 24k, or almost 25k weapon damage, 47k crit on the dual wield bar, and then the back bar is a little bit lower, like 23. And then we've got 1200 crit resist. You don't need too much more because you don't want to be fighting very long anyway. So yeah, I'm going to show you guys how to buff it up and everything. Yes, I know the weapon critical is a little bit low, but honestly that's not an issue, and you'll see during my gameplay videos that it's really not an issue. This set does most of its, or this build does most of its damage off of the procs. The Veladrith proc 12k almost, the Vice Cannon proc almost 16k, and then the Viper proc is almost 8k, and that's without any crits. All of this can crit as well, so that can make a huge difference. You're gonna see some insane damage coming from this build, I can promise you that. Also, the weapon damage will go up once I gold everything out, which I plan to do. Right now I've only got a couple pieces gold. So alright, let's go on to the skills. Alright guys, so now we're going to go into the skills. Starting off, my number 1 is kind of a flex spot for me. If I feel that I have enough damage, I will put a certain thing in here. But if I don't feel like I have enough damage, or I might need to finish them off, then I use surprise attack. So surprise attack, a lot of times you won't actually need it. If you're gonna go against a tankier character, you can use it. It's good to weave into your rotation if you're gonna be dueling, because actually this build isn't bad for sort of long fights. You don't want to be fighting for too long. You want to kind of disengage and then re-engage. So surprise attack, very good skill. It does tons and tons of damage, gives them minor fracture, or major fracture rather, and it also stuns from stealth if you can actually get close enough to somebody to do that. A lot of times nowadays it's really hard to get physically close to someone. Now this next skill that you guys are going to see, you're going to be like, whoa, what the fuck, why are you using this skill? Just trust me guys, I've done a lot of theory crafting with this build, and this is the way I got it to work. So the next one is Flying Blade, the only dual wield ability that I actually use in this build. So you fire a blade from your sleeve, blah blah blah, does a certain amount of damage, it reduces their movement speed, and it gives you major brutality, which is very important since you're not using a two-hander. I guess you could play this a little bit differently. You could use a bow and two-hander and play the normal blah 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 bow gank build, and yeah, I don't like doing that, because a lot of times I found that I wasn't killing them. With this one, I almost guaranteed kill them. And with Vice Cannon and Venom, it is very important that you actually kill your target. Because if you don't, the one problem with Vice Cannon is it'll break you out of stealth. So you need to kill your target and then get out, because your stealth will not work until your target is either dead or the Vice Cannon debuff actually comes off of them. So trust me guys, that's a minor issue with the build. I don't find it being that big of a deal most of the time. But anyway, yeah, Flying Blade. Its range is about as long as your bow. But the good thing about this is you can use it while running. You don't have to charge up a bow attack. You can be chasing after someone, going at full speed, and throw this shit from stealth, and it stuns them, gives you major brutality, and it procs your Vice Cannon and your Viper, both at the same time. It does a shit ton of damage. I've almost one-shot people with this single skill, and I've killed people from half health with this single skill. So don't underestimate it. Give it a try. Give this build a try. I'm telling you, it's a lot of fucking fun. Now, next is Relentless Focus. Pretty bread and butter for any stamina-based build. Gives you extra stam recovery, gives you minor endurance, and gives you a little bit of extra damage. Also, it does like 12k damage when it actually you actually get the light and heavy attacks off, which is possible if you're weaving your surprise attacks in and out of with light attacks, but most of the time you're not going to use the actual bow or whatever, the single shot spectral bow bullshit. Next ability, of course, is Ambush. That's going to be your main gap closer. I'm going to show you how to use all these skills in conjunction. And then you've got Assassin's Blade, which is your execute, and it heals you a little bit if you're taking some like AoE damage or something like that, so it's pretty good for heal. I've found that Executioner from the two-handed line, it does good damage, but it doesn't seem like it does as much damage when this one is actually active. Yes, this one only procs when they're below 25% health, and Executioner is below 50%, but it seems to me like this is a reliable execute, and honestly it's your only execute for using dual wield anyway. Now, Incapacitating Strike. This is probably one of the most important abilities that you have for this build. It stuns, it only costs 50 ultimate, and it does disease damage. It's ridiculously strong. Probably one of the most broken ultimates in the game if you ask me. Alright, let's go to the bow bar. Now, the bow bar is all about utility. It's all utility. Now, we're using Shuffle. That's going to give you your dodge chance and your immunity to snares, which you're definitely going to need to get out of combat. Retreating Maneuver is how you keep up with your enemies while in stealth. So, I always put this on while I'm looking around for people. My stam recovery is super high anyway when I have food and buffed up and everything. So it does cost a lot of stamina, but it's very useful for not only keeping up with targets and chasing down targets, but also getting away because it removes snares and immobilizes. Now, Resolving Vigor, it's your only, well, not your only heal. I'll get to the next one in a second, but it's one of your main heals. Vice Cannon of Venom actually heals you for all the damage that it does as well. That's what allows you to stay in combat with someone if you need to, is Vice Cannon. This is kind of your heal that you use when you're disengaging most of the time. Just bread and butter stamina heal. Shadowy Disguise. Now, I've considered using Dark Cloak in order to get the extra protection, but for now I'm just using Shadowy Disguise. You can actually activate it before the Flying Blade or your bow abilities hit, and it becomes a crit guaranteed. Most of the time I don't need to do that, though. This is mostly just for my escape, as is most of the back bar in general. And then you've got Draining Shot. Now this is the only bow ability that I'm actually using, and it knocks the enemy back and disorients them for 5 seconds. When the disorient ends, it heals you for almost 7k health. So it's very good for escaping. You can use the Magnum Shot Morph if you want. It knocks you and the enemy back, so it creates even more distance. But Draining Shot is just as good, and it gives you the extra heal if you need it. Then I'm using Flawless Dawnbreaker. I'm only really using this for the extra 5% weapon damage on my bow bar, and I'll show you why while I'm, explaining the playstyle and everything. Alright, so next we're going on to the CP. Alright guys, next I'm going to go into my champion points. So in the ritual, I'm going into Mighty and Precise Strikes. Now, I don't have max CP yet. As I go up, this is the main things I'm going to be putting my CP into. You can also throw some into Thaumaturge to increase your dot damage from Vice Cannon if you want to. That's up to you though. Now in the Steed, I'm putting a few into Resistant, and then kind of splitting between Hardy and Elemental Defender. I also forgot to mention I am a vampire, so Elemental Defender is very good for that flame damage that you take a lot of. Vampire is very, very, very important to ganking in general, in my opinion, because you get to run at full speed and you get the damage reduction and max recovery passives. So I think you pretty much need to be Vampire. You can play this build without it, but it's going to be difficult, I'm not going to lie. And then in the tower, I'm kind of splitting it between Warlord and Mooncalf. I want the extra recovery, and I want the stamina cost reduction as well. Now you can put a few into Shade if you want to. It reduces your stamina cost while moving in stealth. So that helps with your sustain while moving around in stealth. You can put some into Tumbling as well. If you feel that you're getting caught a little too much, it'll reduce the cost of stamina while breaking free and dodge rolling as well. I don't want to spend too much time on champion points because I don't have a lot of them, for one, and for two, they're kind of up to you what you want to do with them. So I'm going to go back into what I was doing before, and I'm going to show you guys what food I am using. So for the food, you have 3 different options that you can use. Tri-stat food is the first option. I find that this one's a little rough because I like to have some recovery for my resources instead of maximum amount. But if you feel that you have too little health, or your max magicka is too low, or your max stamina is too low, then you can use this. But I prefer to use the max, the magicka and stamina recovery drink. That is because I like to have, it brings my recovery up to over 2,000 for my stamina, and for my magicka it brings it up over 1,000. I think it's like 1,300, so that I can cloak almost continuously when I'm trying to get away. So I prefer the drink. Sometimes I will use the casserole if there's like Zerds around. And the other one that you can use is max health and stamina recovery. Now, this one doesn't help your magicka recovery, which means you won't be cloaking near as much, but it will bring up your health so that you're not dying as fast. Now, yes, I realize that 15k health is very, very low, but you would be surprised how easy it is for me to actually get away playing this build properly. You have to be very, very careful when you're playing this build. Now, for potions, I'm using movability. So this is really good for when I'm trying to get away. It restores health, restores stamina, and makes me immune to knockback and disabling effects. So this is very useful. Now, if you really want to be a dick, you can put poisons on your bow bar, including drain magicka poisons or drain stamina poisons. I don't recommend this. As you can see, I have a lot of them because I crafted them and I don't ever use them. And there's a good reason for that, because using poisons is kind of a dick move, to be honest. The other potions that you can use are weapon crit potions or increased weapon damage potions. Those ones are pretty useful as well, especially if you think that your stats are too low or you feel that you're not doing enough damage. The only time I feel that I'm not doing enough damage is against tanks. But ganking a tank is not always the smartest thing to do anyway. Against classes that have shields, I don't find that I have a problem with their shields. That's because of Vice Cannon. When I hit them from stealth with Flying Dagger, it stuns them for a pretty long time, and Vice Cannon immediately starts ticking, and usually their shields are down almost the time that I teleport strike in. Usually I have to use a couple surprise attacks to bring down their resistances and kill them quickly, but a lot of the time they're dead before they're actually not stunned anymore. So that being said, I'm going to show you guys how to actually play this build. Alright, so if you guys have never ganked before, you're going to want to stay in stealth almost the entire time. Now, as you can see, I'm not losing stamina very quickly. It does run out eventually, but all you got to do is sit somewhere for a few minutes. So let me show you what my recovery is like with my food on. Now, I'm not in Cyrodiil anymore, because I wasn't going to try and explain this while killing players, because I tend to concentrate really hard. So now you can see my recovery is really high. I can cloak pretty consistently. I can stay cloaked for a good amount of time because of the high magicka recovery. So you shouldn't, you should be back into stealth before you have to cloak more than like 4 times anyway. And that's your only magicka ability, I believe, so you just shouldn't have to worry about that. Now, if you want to use the other foods, then you have to be a little more cautious with your resources. So, okay, there's 2 different ways to play this build. Now, the first way is with the Hidden Blade. Now, with the Hidden Blade, you pretty much can run around. So, say I've got Retreating Maneuver on, you can run around and just throw it at any point. That's what I recommend doing if you're chasing someone on a horse or something. Now, if you want to hit even harder and you see someone that's kind of stationary or kind of close, you can use your bow bar and then switch to your dual wield bar, and all your stuff will proc still. So watch. Now you can see on the side there that it procced my Deadly Venom and my Viper Sting all at once by charging up my bow and then switching bars real quick. So what you're generally going to be doing, if there's someone stationary, you'll buff up, you'll charge your bow, switch, and then you're going to ambush in. And you're going to want to do that quick. Ganking is not easy, guys, so you have to be very precise on what you want to do. Now, generally, I don't use the bow way of doing it. I only do that for tankier people most of the time. So the way I usually do it is I'll throw the dagger. Well, I'll try not to kill them with the dagger instantly. That's part of the problem with trying to do this on mobs is it procs and just kills stuff instantly. See? So I can't actually do it on regular mobs, but I'll throw in the dagger, then I'll ambush, incapacitating strike, and Killer's Blade. If that doesn't kill him, then I'll throw in a surprise attack. Now, also, you can sneak up behind someone. You can't really do it on mobs because their detection is better. And you can dagger, surprise attack, and that'll stun them. And then you can Killer's Blade them if you don't want to try and ambush in. But ambush does give you the empower on top of the flying blades weapon damage, major brutality. That's part of the reason I don't use the bow way of doing it as much as I do the flying dagger way, because I want that extra major brutality for when I actually jump in on them. Alright guys, so that's it for this video and this build. This is my first actual build video, so I'm going to work on, you know, my formatting and everything for the next ones, makes it a little bit shorter and a little bit more focused on everything. If you guys have any questions about the build at all, just leave them in the comments below. Check out the PvP clips, enjoy them, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Bad timing.